Welcome to Integration Nation for Allison Sullivan's Integrative Health Team. I'm Dee Daniels, and we have a doctor in the house.
We have a doctor in the house.
So excited about this episode.
Absolutely. I can't believe we're already at the end of season 2.
Isn't that amazing? What a journey.
What a journey. I was thinking about it as we were prepping, and I was reviewing how we really explained to people what we do in season 1. And season 2 has been all about how we do it. That makes me even more excited that we're closing out season 2 with this guest because of what she does and how she does it.
It truly is an integration nation. And the title of this podcast, we have really stayed true to that. I feel like to just share the network of people that are in integrative care, this is what it's all about.
Absolutely. This is what it's all about. And none of us can do all of it. So the more we collaborate and the more that we educate, the better we all are. And that's the purpose of what we're doing here anyway, is to educate people about the effectiveness and the value of integrative health care, especially integrative mental health care. So let's bring them all in.
Let's do it. Why not? I mean, the network is huge and sharing is caring.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Sharing is caring, Dee.
It is. We just want to, I know, right? And heart emoji. We just want to thank everyone for being a part of this, following along on this journey. And season 3 is going to be amazing. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. Season 3, we are going to, of course, focus on what we do and how we do it as we have been. We're also going to add in why we do it. Dun, dun, dun.
Right?
What could she mean by that? Spoiler.
Oh, it's going to be great. I mean, we've already started planning and mapping, and it really is going to be awesome. We do want to remind everybody to, if you love the podcast, give us a rating, a 5-star, share it with someone you know.
Yes, and give us a review. And as always, you can find every single episode that we have on our website at allisonsintegrativehealth.org, and you can leave comments there as well.
Big thanks to our sponsor, one of our sponsors, Dragonfly Yoga. Just an amazing place. We're hearing great things about our listeners going over there and just really enjoying everything they have to offer.
Yes. So Dragonfly Yoga of Fredericksburg is the premier yoga studio for so many reasons. As we keep talking about, it's such a blend of a welcoming, inclusive community with highly skilled teachers there. So you feel welcomed, you feel a part of, no matter what your skill level is, and you also know that you're going to learn. You're going to be able to understand what yoga is and start a yoga practice that works for you. You're also going to be able to build on that and grow. They have individual classes beginning at 5:30 in the morning.
Their schedule is fantastic.
I know, and they have classes up until 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night most nights. They also have all kinds of workshops, restorative workshops, inversion workshops, meditation workshops. They're doing really great things, educating people about the power of yang practices, the more heat building practices in combination with yin practice, the restorative resetting practices. They have it all. So please check them out, everybody, at dragonflyyogafred.com. They are in the heart of downtown Fredericksburg. You definitely want to check them out.
I'm so excited. Let's roll out the red carpet for our guest.
Okay, so excitement does not even begin to describe how I feel about our guest. I have had a professional relationship with our guest for years, and I refer every single client that comes in this door to our guest. I have been giddy about prepping for this podcast, about having this conversation. I've thought over and over in my head, okay, I've got 30 minutes. What do we need to talk about? And I kept expanding the list, and I'm just beyond excited to have Dr. Vyonne Villarreal, the medical director and founder of Embracing Health in North Stafford, Virginia. So thank you very much for being here with us.
Gosh, what a welcome. It's fantastic. Thank you. I'm honored.
We are thrilled to have you because as an integrative physician, you work with the body in a little bit of a different way than I think many people are around here and who listen are used to kind of experiencing and maybe don't quite understand. So tell us a little bit about who you are as an integrative physician and what got you to this area.
Well, what got me to the area was my family. My husband in the U.S. Marine Corps, he retired, and we fell in love with this area, raised our 2 children. They're in college now.
It's a beautiful area to raise a family.
Indeed. And I was introduced to a kind of integrative perspective really from my medical school years in Tucson, Arizona. I had the extreme fortune of being taught by Andrew Weil. And he's sort of a celebrity. He's been on Time magazine twice, at least I know of, maybe more. And he really planted that seed of looking at mainstream medicine and adding a little bit more perspective on how it fits for the body and what the body's really doing. So he described first the integrative approach, which he lists as moving away from a symptom relief and really seeing what's healing, and incorporating those therapies, whether they fall in mainstream or other, that work.
I want to stop there for a minute because I think what you said is so powerful. I think sometimes we have a symptom management, sickness management system in place, whether we're talking about mental health, physical health, both. So to have a perspective that's focused on health, creating health, restoring health,
Returning to health
sounds magical and wonderful.
It is. And it's where the lasting vitality can bubble up from. So
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, the lasting vitality. Not just, okay, well, I can feel a little better or I can cope, but a vitality and a zest and an understanding of what it feels like to be in your body in that place.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Okay, so how would you define integrative health?
I would define it as, first, what is the perspective and priority of the person who is looking for an integrative approach? What are their understandings of what health means to them? It's so different for everybody.
Yes, it is.
I mean, for some people, it's like, man, if I could just get out of this wheelchair. And for others, I wish I wasn't falling asleep at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Or if only I could stop waking up at 3 in the morning every time. It's different severities. So what would one consider, really, is that the problem? To, I know everybody says I look terrific, but I feel like crap inside.
Yes.
So it's interesting to try and meet the person where they're at and what their hope and perspective is for what health is to them.
I love that approach. That's a similar approach to how we practice mental health care in this practice, because we meet the client where the client is. We don't decide for the client where they need to be. We meet the person where they are. And so is it fair to say that you include different treatment modalities based on what the patient wants from you?
Most definitely. I also try and just feel it out where they want to go. So I have no problems referring to a Reiki healer as easily as I refer to a gastroenterologist, as easily as I refer to the cardiologist or to an acupuncture. So they all are very worthwhile in the mosaic of a person's health.
Yes.
And if you put enough of those pieces together, you can actually see the person on the mosaic picture.
Yes.
But if big chunks are missing, it gets kind of confusing and kind of frustrating.
So it truly is an open perspective of where can this person benefit, and where do I need to connect them?
Exactly.
Wow. I love that. I love the openness and the understanding that all modalities used in the right way at the right time can be
powerful.
Yeah.
There were some to get on a sidetrack here, there was some studies on the placebo effect.
Yes.
Which has been years put into a kind of unimportant category. And now we're looking at that again and realizing that is an incredible, powerful tool. The correct mindset, the correct intent towards something, that a sugar pill can do just as well and sometimes better than another chemical, pharmaceutical pill.
Yes.
So that's giving a lot of momentum and further investigation to the benefits of an integrative approach.
That's another really important point, and something that I talk about with colleagues on a regular basis because of what you just said. The placebo effect for so many years was like, oh, it's just the placebo effect. And meanwhile, people, myself and people in my line of work are like, that's the whole point. It's the placebo effect. If people are really thinking that there's a possibility of healing, if their mindset is around healing, then isn't that what we want?
Exactly. It can be so beautiful too.
Absolutely.
And empowering. And also they've done the same concept of letting a person know that they're getting a sugar pill or something else. And yet they still see some improvement.
Yes.
So again, it lends credence to that. What is the intent? What are they looking for? How can they get there with maybe just a little help here and there? And it's usually not one thing. People do a lot of things at once. But we tend to say, ever since I took this is when things got better. But didn't you cut out sodas? Yes. But then I, took this and I could sleep better. But didn't you also quit that toxic job you had?
Yes.
So all those little things play a part of, again, finding that healing. And that's the integrative approach.
Absolutely. Kind of like the additive property. So I think about this when I'm trying to educate clients about this. This is going to really date me, but when I was a kid, we had this game called Don't Spill the Beans. And it was just this dumb little plastic pot that you put beans in, but whoever put the last bean in that made the pot spill.
Oh, yes, it was like a little...
Yes, lost. And so sometimes I think about that, whether it's from habits or environment or lifestyle, genetics, from a sickness standpoint as well as from a health standpoint. The things that we add and stack can restore health, and the things that add and stack together can take away from health. Okay, so one of the specific things that excited me about having this conversation with you is the idea of blood work and getting blood work as a part of an integrative approach to mental health and wellness. Because when clients come to me, they're depressed, they have no energy, they have foggy thinking, they're having trouble at work, they're having trouble in their relationships, and I say to them, have you had blood work done? They usually look at me like, have you not heard what I've just said? Or am I in the right office? I'm talking about, I'm struggling at work. I can't get out of bed. And we start talking about understanding the mind and body as one system, and how blood work can help us see what's going on so that we can do what you just described.
Right.
We can put pieces together in the mosaic. We can create a more holistic treatment plan to help restore health and wellness. And then I describe to them the different types of blood work that are available. So I think it would be really beneficial for listeners to hear how your practice does blood work with a new patient, what you're looking at, the component parts, and how you're putting that together when you're trying to create a template, if you will.
Exactly. That's a pretty big part of our type of practice. We take a lot of blood. So we even have
I can attest to that.
A lab sitting right in our office to say, hey, come and give it. You don't have to fast at this point. We'll just take it now. Because we can learn many of the basic foundation of where we want to go with their health and healing. So, for instance, we still do the typical CBC, CMP type panels, which just about every doctor does.
Yes.
But I'll take that to one step further.
Yes, you do, which is what gets me so excited.
We recognize there's normal normal in our book, not getting you into the hospital and having to put IVs in you and all that sort of stuff just to keep you living.
Right, so it's not severe dysfunction,
Exactly.
normal.
But then there's optimal. And that window gets a little tighter for most human beings. Now, there's always somebody who's an outlier. That's why things are ranges. Each number does not represent, oh, you did it, and you're going to stay there.
Right.
We live in a biology of frequencies, from our energy of the neurosystem to the turnover of the liver cells. Everything has a frequency.
I love that description.
And well, it's helped me my perspective, really, because I'm trying to find where all those frequencies start coming together to truly create the music. So if you've ever been in a band, like I was a band geek, there's always the beginning cacophony of sounds when you're starting to warm up for the orchestra.
Right.
But then somehow something comes together. You have somebody who pulls everybody together. We get the timing right. And sometimes, not in high school often, but not in my band, but sometimes we hit the note just right.
Right.
And you could hear the parents like, wow, that's my kid, you know. It just felt right. It resonated. It made everybody smile and just take that extra level higher with feeling good.
Yes.
So you can look at that with every aspect of the body. Mm-hmm. And if you can start getting them in a rhythm, again, that's when you start finding that vitality come forward. That's when you say, I haven't felt this good since I was in my 20s, or wow, I can't even remember the last time I felt great, and I woke up and I smiled. So those are gem situations that I always like to try and go for. But I digress.
I think you're dead on. I think you're dead on.
But when we look at those labs, say, for instance, the good old complete metabolic panel.
Okay.
There are some liver enzymes. Mm-hmm. And liver is central to a lot of activity, not only producing things, but detoxing the body. I like to see those labs closer to around the high teens, early 20s. The levels in the blood. That tells me their B vitamin, B6 more specifically, is in a good range. When B6, an unsung hero, tends to go really low, we find a lot of anxiety.
Yes.
Or if it's completely missing and we're not having a lot of good detoxification, we have backup in the system and other things can go wrong. So that's a nice hint for me on already what kind of nutrients I want to start keeping in mind.
Right.
If it's too high, maybe there's a glutathione issue. And again, I don't mean to go down too much chemistry, because I'm going to just put myself in quicksand too.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up glutathione, but that's a future podcast episode.
Great, because that's a powerful antioxidant and helps in so many ways. So when I look at those basic blood work, I'm already trying to say, where is the deficiency? Where are things too much that we need to calm it down? And trying to find that balance, that frequency, that flow.
Right. And I love that I hope everybody listening just understood in how you just described the liver and what you were looking for. It understands why integrative medicine can be so powerful. Because when you're looking from that lens, when you're looking at, okay, what are these levels and where is B6? Because B6 not only has physical components, there are mental and emotional components to that.
Right.
So I hope everybody listening really heard that, because that's the magic when you're really understanding a comprehensive picture.
Right.
Another place this comes up a lot in my practice is with thyroid.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. It's crucial, especially to mental health, because we already know a lot of integrative psychiatrists are definitely wanting to see that in the optimal range.
Yes.
Never to be ignored before you even start thinking of medications and such. So thyroid. I remember as I was getting into the thyroid health and balance, mainstream medicine, I had my numbers, and if you were within the number, nothing wrong with the thyroid. And we only tested one type of number, TSH.
Yes.
Thyroid stimulating hormone.
Yes.
And as we had talked about earlier before the podcast started, it's only a partial of the story.
A teeny part of the story. And when people come into my office, that's what they'll say to me. They'll say, oh yeah, my doctor just tested my TSH.
Right.
Period.
And to me, that is only the feedback loop. And so many things can go wrong, and I could be getting a false reading. So, for instance, and we see a lot of these individuals, autoimmune disease.
Yes.
Autoimmune disease, which does seem to have a genetic predisposition, but seems to be turned on when the gut is a mess, and that's a whole different story.
Oh, that's where
you can see how we can get off.
That's where I'd like to go next.
But if they create antibodies, say one of the most common one is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, it can interfere with what's active in the thyroid hormone in the body and giving us a false reading that everything's okay because the TSH is normal. Or they're feeling fine with the active part of the thyroid that they're getting either from medicine or just it hasn't caught up with them yet, and the TSH is off the charts. I mean, I was shocked when I was starting to see things like 13, 12, and TSH ideally is around 1.5, maybe 1.0, and the range is, of course, even bigger than that. But when I saw that it wasn't communicating.
Yes, the communication.
Exactly.
Again, how all of the parts are communicating.
So you have to have more to that story. You want to know how much thyroid is free and active and talking to those cells. Because if I added more and they had plenty, I'd put them in palpitations, probably to the ER, which I'm trying to keep them out of. Or if I say, no, everything looks great, and there's no T3, they're still going to say, but I have my hair falling out, my skin is dry, and I check all the boxes on this home study. Do you have thyroid issues?
Yes, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care what you say. I see a TSH, it's normal. I've just lost a great opportunity to help a person turn a corner. That does not mean, and that's another fallacy that I used to believe in, is if once you start out with hormone, you're on that hormone for the rest of your life, or once you start a blood pressure medicine, you're on that for the rest of your life. It's just so wonderful to see people get free of pharmaceuticals, including exogenous hormones, because their own glands kicked in again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope everybody just heard that. A doctor saying, I love when people are free from pharmaceuticals.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because that's about the body doing what the body's built to do, is to restore and maintain health.
Exactly. It knows how to do it probably better than anybody else. We just sometimes have to make sure the doors are open, the locks are not keeping it from opening.
Yes, and the channels are clear and free to flow.
And the tools are being brought in. So that goes right back to the gut. If you bring the good stuff in and let the toxins flow out, the cells, the individual cells, all the mini me's, the mini you's, start to know what to do again.
Right.
And work as a unit, as a piece of tissue, as a organ, and then eventually as you, the walking planet. That's another thing. I see people as planets.
What a beautiful analogy.
Especially in the gut, because you want a beautiful population in harmony. You don't want a dictatorship of yeast. You don't want to. You don't want to let the beautiful rhythm and architecture of the gut get destroyed, or it won't be able to do the things it needs to do for you.
Absolutely. So another education component for me in my work is helping people understand the connection between their gut and their brain, and how our gut really is sometimes referred to as our second brain, and that there really is a gut-brain axis. And I wish that since we're on audio, people can't see what I'm about to do, but when I start to educate people about serotonin and the majority of that being made in their gut, their eyes go like this.
Right.
Because it just sounds ridiculous to people at first.
I actually test serotonin.
Yes,
There's been
you do.
controversy over that, but I find it very useful because it gives me, again, ideas of where to put my energies. So serotonin in the blood is actually the gut serotonin. not from the brain. I'd have to, put a needle in your brain to pull it out to see how much serotonin is there. But if the gut serotonin is low from the ideal range, not normal, the ideal range.
And knowing that there's bio-individuality too.
Exactly. But if you can get the ideal range, then that's great. But if most of the individuals who have that suffering from depression, anxiety, you'll often find their serotonin in their gut low. Now, what that really tells me is that gut is inflamed. Because if the serotonin is low, that means a lot of the protein, should you be eating enough protein coming into the gut, is being shifted elsewhere to put out fire, you might say, going down a biochemical pathway that says, it's just not balanced. But if you start healing the gut, you start seeing that serotonin come back. And funny enough, they start feeling better too. So you can see that relationship of if you don't make it in the gut, it's really not going to be much better in the brain.
No, and we in fact just finished, or not just finished, in the spring we did a 12-week food mood group.
Oh, nice.
And it was a big component of it, really. The core of it was helping people understand that good digestion can lead to improved mood.
Big time.
There are mood issues, there are digestion issues. So if you address digestion at all parts, starting from before food even enters your mouth, then you're going to improve your mood. So
very powerful, very powerful.
In support of that, let's talk about probiotics and how people can use pre and probiotics to support their gut health.
Indeed. I see probiotics as the people on your planet. Okay.
Love that analogy, and I think that's really easy for people to kind of latch on to.
It definitely helps because some people will say, oh, yes, when I say, do you take digestive enzymes? They go, yes, I have a probiotic, and I said, that's different. Probiotics are the people.
Yes.
Digestive enzymes, think of them as an extra pair of teeth to chop up that food to deliver to the little people that we want in your gut. So if we have a good mixture, you'll be able to have those probiotics help in making certain nutrients, certain antioxidants, help with certain absorption.
And will help with the inflammation.
Exactly. And inflammation is the driving issue for a lot of modern day, especially in America, disease states and chronic disease states.
Agreed. And we now know that chronic inflammation is a big part of depression. Depression is a really complicated illness. It's a debilitating illness for, millions of people.
And growing, unfortunately.
And inflammation is a big piece of that puzzle. So when people can really get a handle on inflammation, that can turn around so many things in their life.
Indeed. So again, getting back to your probiotics, it's a major part of a gut healing therapy. I'm not going to be able to do it with just probiotics.
Right.
You need the collagen, you need the nutrients. You might have to have some supplements for a little while. Ultimately, I'd love for them to be able to live on food, not supplements. So like a lot of integrative colleagues, they like to concentrate on food first, herbs, supplements to support where maybe your zucchini wasn't grown in zinc-rich soil.
Right.
And then medicines last. And that
seems logical.
Yeah, it really is. Just you can step away from a lot of pharmaceuticals if you go that route first, because fixing the gut fixes a lot of the problems right there.
Yes, it does. I want to reiterate that fixing the gut fixes a lot of other problems. Okay, so prebiotics, so the way I think about that is it's food for the probiotic.
Exactly. Right, exactly.
So do you have a protocol of prebiotics that you introduce for people, or just kind of help to start them on their way to educate them about what prebiotics are and how to include both?
Well, actually, I don't. You see, that's where I find my style at this point is I don't have any particular brand name or type. I do utilize my nutritionists, and they have often their favorite. And that's a controversy with even my own colleagues. I have a lot of integrative colleagues who do a lot of supplements that they sell from their house and from their clinic. I had chosen at this point not to go that route so that my message would not get messed up.
Yes,
So
the conflict of interest.
I'm always happy to say, well, let's look at the lists of wonderful foods. You can find all these pre and postbiotics. But as far as any kind of particular pathway, or you must eat this way, again, not every diet fits everybody.
Yes.
And we run into that often. Somebody is trying to do a keto, and some respond wonderfully. I love that diet, but not everybody does respond well. They might go through that keto flu feeling, or it's just too hard to give up their favorite simple carbs.
Right, or their engine may not be built in such a way that a keto approach really works.
Or at least at that time. So if, again, that's where you meet the patient where they're at. Maybe they'll do better with Weight Watchers to get things started. Maybe they can explore all the different diets. Same thing with the supplements. Can they explore different types of supplements? If they can't tolerate one, was it the filler or was it truly the nutrient we're trying to give them?
I think that's another really important point, because sometimes people will, if I recommend or discuss the use of fish oil, which is, I think, really powerful. Omega-3 supplementation can be really powerful with mental health related issues. People will say, well, I tried that and it didn't work. And if we talk about it a little more, it relates to usually one of two things. Either what you were saying earlier about, well, what else are you doing in conjunction with that? Or what was the quality of the fish oil that you were taking, and what was the dosage?
Right. So are they getting enough? Did they stop because they hate burping? Did they try krill oil instead? How about going straight for sardines?
Yes.
So.
One of the unsung heroes in the fish world, and I am a sardine fan.
Wonderful. Dr. Weil has a great recipe with mustard and crackers. So.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
If you don't have any problem with gluten.
Yes, well, which most of the listeners know I do. Yes. Okay, so in the final few minutes we have...
Wow. Okay.
It goes fast,
it does,
doesn't it? It just
like,
means you have to come back.
No, I would be honored.
In the final few minutes, what would you say people who are just kind of maybe beginning to look at opening up their toolkit a little bit more and including some more supplements or vitamins or an integrative approach, are there some basic vitamins that most people could benefit from as they're waiting to get into your practice or finding another integrative practice wherever they are? Just some basics around that idea of health and wellness.
Well, again, I'd still go back to the foods. So start, more importantly than anything, start looking at what you're putting in your mouth before you try and get a supplement. Is it a Dr. Pepper along with a banana? I had my banana today, but you also had the Dr. Pepper, which is full of fire. So if they could look at what did the earth make?
Yes.
What did pre-processed foods look like? Oh, out of your garden. Start there.
Yes.
That would be the first supplement I would recommend.
We talked about this in my food mood group when we talked about eating more like your grandparents ate.
Maybe great-grandparents now.
Maybe great-grandparents for some. Yes.
That's a pre-World War II.
Pre-World War II.
That was a huge shift in the human diet, was after World War II.
So connecting with food and connecting with whole, unprocessed food.
That would be my first step, just looking at getting the crap out.
And I would add into that and making sure that you're in a relaxed environment and connecting with the food that you're about to eat. Because when we're present and when we're there, we join with our body, like you were talking about. When we were talking, I think before we started, about the placebo effect.
Right.
When we join with our food with intention and energy, we just supercharge what the fuel and the healing capacity in the food is to begin with.
Exactly. I concur.
Oh, Dr. Villarreal, thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for being here. You are welcome to come back anytime.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
That was amazing.
I know, she's amazing. Everything she said, I just thought,
Yes.
Oh, I want to talk about this now. Oh, we have to do an episode about this.
Yes. We have to have part 2, part 3, part 10 with her.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really, really good stuff. And very eye-opening, I think, for a lot of people who may think, I had this done, but then they're like, wait, there's a whole other world.
Yes, really understanding that not all blood work is created equal. And I really love the analogies that she was using in painting a picture about the symphony and the band and the frequency. And yes, the planet and the people.
I'm never going to forget that. That is a visual in my head now, and I love that. And I think that's going to mean a lot to a lot of people. So as we wrap things up here, what are you most excited for as we get ready for season 3?
I'm most excited for really applying what we've learned in building a community through the podcast and developing a system between us and with our guests, and kind of bringing even more transparently our hearts into that of the why we do this in season 3.
That's beautiful. And we want to invite everyone to check out the website. Also on social media too, there's so many great things going on, but the website is really a great hub. Worksheets, past episodes, an email list you'll want to be on.
Absolutely. And all our workshops and information about those workshops. And because Haley made our website so beautiful, you can go to the upper right-hand corner and click on any of those buttons to connect with us through social media. But you really do want to stay connected to us so that you're the first to know about the workshops that we have and when those open up, because we do have limited space so that we keep them intimate. So you want to sign up sooner rather than later.
Allisons, integrativehealth.org. Reach out with your questions, your comments. Allison and the team will meet you where you are today. Allison Sullivan and Associates Integrative Mental Health Team is located in beautiful, historic downtown Fredericksburg, Virginia, and at AllisonsIntegrativeHealth.org. New and exciting workshops are available to you that will give you personal attention to meet your needs right where you are on your journey. Sign up for our newsletter to be the first to know when registration opens for workshops like Aromatherapy 101. Here's how you can discover to use aromatherapy to support your health. Did you know that a blend of frankincense, peppermint, and lemongrass supports wisdom, optimism, and it will help you release unhealthy attachments? This is where you can learn how to support your mental, emotional, and physical health with the Essential Oils workshops available to you monthly for no charge. Come meet the team. Schedule your session today for psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, yoga, and massage, and begin restoring yourself in mind, body, and spirit. If you'd like to call, the number is 540-907-0991 and online at AllisonsIntegrativeHealth.org. As Allison always says, self-care will save your life. Let go and lean in.